Thank you to Nintendo for providing me the game to make this debut possible. Splatoon Raiders is a spin-off of the third-person looter shooter of the Splatoon franchise, and it is developed and published by Nintendo. With Splatoon rising up to massive fame and fans eagerly awaiting the next mainline entry, Nintendo decided, let's make a spin-off and create something entirely different. However, was a looter shooter the correct route to go in, or did the franchise finally live up to its literal name and go splat? Only one way to find out, so let's ink! Gameplay. Never in a million years would I have guessed that the juggernaut of a franchise known as Splatoon would become as big of a household name for the Nintendo library, alongside iconic franchises like the Super Mario Bros. Series, Donkey Kong, Pokemon, and The Legend of Zelda. But here we are in the big old 2026, and Splatoon is just as popular as it's ever been since its first release on the Wii U back in 2015. Watching Splatoon grow over the last decade, and also enjoying every entry, even if I'm not very good at the main series titles, has been a really fun time, especially watching the tournaments that have been held with people playing competitively against one another. It just made me realize, dang, I really am not built for this. But hey, look guys, I can go bloop in the ink! Yes, that really is the extent of my skill. Slow bloops and hops in ink, and pretend that I'm actually contributing and doing my part. My lack of skill aside, while we anticipated the announcement of Splatoon 4, instead we retreated to a brand new spin-off title, this time in the vein of a looter shooter with Splatoon Raiders. Honestly, this announcement shocked me at first. It seemed like such a weird pivot. But at the time, the mechanics behind Splatoon itself truthfully seemed like it would fit perfectly with the genre too. But while the concept overall makes sense mechanically, the tough sell was always going to be taking the fun and fast gameplay of the main series and this time throw in things like looter shooter elements, training galleries for shooting and testing out the controls, obstacles to take part in via varied courses, gameplay elements to solve, and a good amount of boss fights to take on. For me personally, on paper, that sounds pretty dang great, but if you're a hardcore Splatoon fan that only wants your traditional gameplay the series is known for, then you might be a tad bit disappointed that the shift in mechanics this time becomes more so a PvE looter shooter, and if that isn't your fancy, then this game might be a bit of an iffy pickup. Unless the fear of missing out on the brand new entry becomes too much for you to bear, and you end up like the squid on Finding Nemo and going, "Aw, you made me ink," and then rush straight away to buy it anyways. Trust me, it happens, and to be quite frank with you, I think the game will win people over regardless of their stance on it initially. However, even if you don't rush to buy it immediately, I know the regret of not doing so will eat at you and torment you, because missing out on the potential of Splatoon Raiders is like eating a spoonful of Drano.
Sure, it'll clean you out. It'll leave you hollow inside.
Focusing more so on PvE over competitive multiplayer this go-around allows the franchise to get a breath of fresh air and a new lease on life in my personal opinion, and it keeps the franchise from becoming predictable, bland, or even repetitive by recycling the same format time and time again. But just because the competitive multiplayer isn't present here does not mean that the title has lost all of the charm of the main series, not even close. In fact, it's probably even more alive with its new gameplay elements and even its visuals than the main series itself. And that's saying a lot for it. Gliding through your ink-colored splats remains a key component here in Raiders, offering smooth and fluid gameplay that you're used to, mixed alongside with new weapons and even new abilities to unleash on your foes to defeat them faster or to gain a quick advantage over them should you try focusing on watching their attack patterns and be strategic about your next move. What's that? What am I doing? Huh? Me?
Just hanging around.
That is until I do my very own Leroy Jenkins and then just rush in an enemy with no prepping, no strategy, no idea of how the mechanics go.
Alright, thumbs up.
Ready, guys?
Let's do this. Leroy Jenkins!
Yeah, obviously it didn't all come to pass like it did in my head, but oh well. So as I was saying, what? Okay guys, let's do this. Leroy Jenkins! Oh yeah, we did it a second time and same results. We're moving on and never speaking of this again. One of the issues I noticed right at the start is that things do come off as very unbalanced, at least at first, because it's not multiplayer. It's all about custom loadouts for your Inkling or Auckling created character. By using this loadout system for your character, it's your job to pick and choose which weapons benefit your playstyle and which ones hinder you. And that might take a little bit to get used to if you aren't up for experimenting, which I can see being an issue for someone that doesn't want to take the time to test everything out. Having said that, it would benefit you greatly to actually test out varied loadouts, since one loadout with specific weapons could be exactly what's needed for different challenges, or be what stops you from completing challenges at the same time too. Just don't try to act cool like me and do a 360 spin inking trying to skill shot, because it ain't going to work. Either that, or I'm just as much of a screw up as Slippy. Gee, I've got the same skills as Slippy, how swell. Since this is a looter shooter as stated, and it has a loadout system, that means that there are various ways to play beyond just your weapon use, such as this game's version of a class system. Here in Raiders, you will be tasked on picking between multiple upgradable tanks, and each one having a different ability tied to their use. For example, a tank like Speed Tank will offer you the chance to pull out your Freddy Krueger and feel the need for speed as you act like a hyper dog doing zoomies through an area, and also given the option to use ranged attacks to be more strategic about getting close to an enemy you may be a bit weary of. Your Power Tank acts as your rage indicator, not in the literal sense, but using this tank will make the attack stronger and more aggressive, hence the name, Power, duh. But if you're in a ticked-off mood while playing this game, then hey, using a power tank is a lot better than smashing your own PC or kicking over someone's cart at the grocery store. Not that I would know anything about doing that, of course. Moving on. Tactical Tank works like an engineer in Team Fortress Classic, or for you modern kiddos out there, Team Fortress 2, where in those games you set down a sentry gun to trap enemies, but here in Raiders, you take that concept and it allows you to strategically place turrets around an area you want to defend or lure an enemy into, and even lay down some mines. What's great about these tanks is that everything is customizable and upgradable, so that mix and matching feels unique to your character and never makes you feel like you're just recycling the same play format style on a constant basis when it's in conjunction with your layered loadouts. Story, however, is not as layered as its gameplay counterpart. It's still fun, don't get me wrong, and it still has all the charm and goofiness that you've come to expect from the franchise in a story about treasure hunting, and even gets you in tune with how to partake in raids, but still, it's not something you'll focus on compared to the plethora of gameplay elements thrown at you. Through the game's story, you partake in missions that include time-based battles, stages full of enemies that you have to clear out, and even more free roam areas where you have a higher rate of mobility to screw around in. This is also where you learn about how to change your ultimate meter, how to use enemy parts you've collected for upgrading and crafting, using your shards, not cash, for currency, and figuring out which gadgets you need to customize. It's all great and all, but if you play it in long bursts, you might feel a bit of repetitiveness seep into your soul, because the mission types and tasks you partake in, a lot of them require similar or the same tasks to complete. So doing the same mission type like 4 times in a row for hours might swing a bit to the realm of tedium. It's like watching me try to drive the Warthog in Halo. In your mind, you want to see me get over a ridge or to my objective fast, but sadly, you forgot it's me. And I suck at driving, so I'll get there when I get there. Which could be in an hour, so thus your tedium after watching me. Honestly though, while repetitive gameplay can be a downer, item collection, fun and intense battles against a variety of creators and bosses, killing all Salmonoid types who use unique traits and patterns, more than makes up for the pacing in the long run to push those feelings aside, at least for me. Overall, at the end of the day, Splatoon Raiders manages to breathe new life into the franchise that many of us never saw coming, especially in relation to the looter shooter genre. Granted, I know it won't be everyone's cup of tea due to the missing puzzle and platforming aspects in favor of the PvE gameplay, but still, with the fun loadout system that allows you as the player to find which weapons and abilities fit best for your playstyle, item collection, powerful variants of enemies and bosses, ability to co-op with your friends should you be having a troublesome time on a section of the game you just can't pass, rare loot as a reward for beating harder missions, fast and fluid gameplay, it all just ends up a fantastic time, and a game that's hard to put down, even with repetitiveness at times. So with all that having been said, my verdict is clear. Game and Chick says bye now.